our life, our practice, our zazen, in a way we could say, is opening to this moment or being this experiencing. Being this experiencing, of course, is extra. And yet we need to remind ourselves of extra because of how often we consider various moments so-called throwaway moments. Throwaway in the that, oh, this isn't so important, significant. It's always right this moment. And our ideas of this moment are the only hindrances, if I use that word, hindrance. In fact, the Heart Sutra, which we just chanted, is the phrase, with no hindrance in mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear. No hindrance in mind, therefore no fear. In fact, if we look at it the other way, when we sense fear, and fear is often sensed viscerally, we know that this fear is nurtured if we hold on to anger, greed, and various forms of delusions, which is what the Heart Sutra is reminding us, to enable us to see what right now is feeding fear, or to notice what habitual actions and reactions are being nurtured by holding, living the fear. We can talk of these various ways, but it's all about being this moment so that we can see where we're holding or caught in self-centeredness, but not some big thing called self-centeredness, but this specific what if, or how will that, and we each in zazening, both in formal zazening and in being the experience of our life, can notice how we are opening or fighting this moment. And of course, fighting this moment is just opening as this fighting this moment. But that's the opportunity, both in terms of formal sitting and in terms of throughout the day, that I'll use the image that I often have brought up, the clouds of fear or of anger or of greed appear as in our life, as part of our sky, in the sky of our functioning. And it's not that their appearance is the issue, but how we are caught in them, believing them, feeding them, nurturing them, or how they are nurturing and building to be this hindrance, as the Heart Sutra says. Hindrance. Why do we call it a hindrance? Because it keeps us from being who we always are. It keeps us in the deluded thoughts, keeps us in this realm that we say, this is not nirvana, this is not the universe, this is something that's getting away, in the way of, but it's really not. Notice the Heart Sutra says, no fear, far beyond deluded thoughts. But of course, far beyond is never somewhere else. Far beyond is never somewhere else. Form is exactly emptiness, meaning form right here is not what we add on to about the form. It's not the judgment, or form is being willing to experience the judgment as a judgment. Oh, there's the cloud of judgment coming through. Or cloud of, and you fill it in, stain, pure, loss, gain. All dharmas, says the Heart Sutra, are forms of emptiness. Now, don't make emptiness into something else. Breathing in, breathing out, right there, it's emptiness. The experiencing that is your life, that you are the expert at, and you are the one who is able to do it, to be this experience. No one else can be this that you are. And yet it's up to you to, if we use the word, open to it. Why? Because in doing so, there's no hindrance in it. Or at least in noticing the believed hindrance that's getting in the way of, and you figure out what it's in the way of and how it's in the way. This is living, being this Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, this far beyond deluded thoughts, which is nowhere else. That's, to quote from something that Dogen cites, that's his teacher Rujing Tendo Nyojo gave a talk and said, the world-honored one once remarked, world-honored one being the Buddha, when someone gives rise to truth by opening to the source, the whole of space in all 10 quarters falls away and vanishes. That's how he rephrased a quote from a sutra. Dogen, when he rephrases that quote, he says, I would put it this way, when someone gives rise to truth by opening to the source, the whole of space in the 10 quarters gives rise to truth by opening to the source. Some people translate what I'm using the word opening, they translate it into returning. I don't, in a way, that's fine, returning to the source. Just as we say, far beyond deluded thoughts, as if it's somewhere else. But in a way, it still, what should I say? It still reinforces the dualistic idea of it being somewhere else, somehow else. And that's exactly what Rujing and Dogen's teacher actually quotes several other venerable ancestors who've restated this statement. This statement comes from a Shurangama Sutra, and Dogen even says, doesn't make a difference whether the Shurangama Sutra is from the Buddha or is something from later created in China. It doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference because it's always right here that the universe is revealed. The truth is revealed, even if it never was exactly the quote that the Buddha, and this was something that came from later, because if it gives rise to the truth of who and what we are, here's what our practice is, which is being, opening, returning to the source of what life, this universe is. Then we say it, the whole of space in all directions manifests it, gives rise to this. And that's what, in a way, exactly what we're doing when we recite, chant the Heart Sutra. We're allowing the whole universe to voice itself through us. Form is no other than emptiness. Emptiness, no other than form. Because this allows us to relieve misfortune, pain, hindrances which give rise to fear. And it doesn't make a difference which facet, so to speak, of this universe, that some pieces are called fear, and some called hindrances, and some called suffering, called, you can add on. These are all facets of our life and all facets of misconstruing our life, creating misfortune and pain by believing, by being caught in what we're believing, by holding on to what we're believing. So it's our opportunity in each moment to be this zazen, to open to this experiencing as it is, even sometimes when it's difficult to open to, even when it's exactly what we don't want to do. Because from the beginning, it's not stained and it's not pure. We don't gain, don't lose. And yet it's exactly right here, gaining, here, losing. I know some of you are football fans, so the end of today, there's the Super Bowl, and some team will gain and some team will lose. And no gain, no loss. And someone will win and someone will lose. See, this is the opportunity, because this is what practice reminds us. It's not a matter of the self-centered thoughts arising. It's not holding on, not being caught in it. Living this, what we can call prajna paramita, the wisdom that is who we are. We can be from the beginning this no fear, even in the midst of fear arising. Even in the midst of so-called deluded thoughts, self-centeredness arising, no problem. Arising self-centeredness, passing self-centeredness, when it doesn't arise, no problem. Right here, this is far beyond deluded thoughts. This here is the whole universe, the whole of space, giving rise to the truth, opening up for all of us the source of who and what we are, which nurtures us, living, serving all beings. Thank you.